Commissioner has been provided with a list of correspondence received by the clerk's office since our last meeting. This correspondence will be kept on file in the office of the clerk of the board for reference.
Is there a motion to accept?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Minutes for approval?
Board of County Commissioners regular meeting, February 17, 2022 at 7 o'clock p.m.
Second.
Roll call.
County Commissioner Esposito Barbers. Yes. County Commissioner Kenny. County Commissioner Coppell.
Yes.
County Commissioner McCollum.
Yes.
County Commissioner Nara.
Yes.
County Commissioner Tamara.
Yes.
County Commissioner Director Rios.
Yes, we have ordinance, we have public hearing and final adoption.
Notice of this public hearing was published in the Home News Tribune, February 22nd, 2022. This public hearing was authorized at a meeting of the Board of County Commissioners held on February 17, 2022. Bond Ordinance 461, ordinance approving $67 million from the 2022 operating budget to provide for various capital improvements in and by the County of Middlesex, State of New Jersey.
This time I open up the public hearing on ordinance number 461. Does anyone have any comments? Charles? Please state your name and address, and you have 5 minutes.
Good evening, Commissioners. Charlie Cradaville, editor of New Brunswick Today, community newspaper here at newbrunswicktoday.com. Do you have any top line items in these 67 million that you'd like to speak on? Curious if there's any specific infrastructure that we might recognize around the county or any specific projects?
Joe, did you,
Well, I have a list of projects here, if you want to.
Okay.
So it's our annual capital budget.
Right, I understand. So, could I have that now? Okay, thank you, that's all.
anyone else on the public that wants to speak on the ordinance number 461?
May I have this first before I speak? To see what's on the list first?
State your name and address, and you have 5 minutes.
Honestly, I say you should have passed out the list first and then we would
This is the public hearing, you have your opportunity to speak.
Well, I will speak.
Please state your name.
Danielle Moore, Somerset Street, and I do see something on here in regards to Johnson Park, and I'm so glad that we see to where someone saw me taking pictures for me to have all these warnings of what you need to do at Johnson Park, because that's what I'm here to speak about, due to where you have a major water, the ground is entirely too wet, saturated, where the trees are falling over. Please, your garbage from all that needs to be cleaned up. I'm providing you with the public with the evidence. I was not in with Johnson Park at first, but like I said, after coming through the weekend, does any of you even go to Johnson Park recently?
Speak about the ordinance, Dan.
Well, it's speaking about it due to where you need to replace the bridge with the pedestrian, and I'm showing you, I will show, even though I have too many pictures why, but I will show you why, due to where so many of your spots are underwater, where the people have to run in the street, to jog the weekend in the street. Like I said, if I would have saw what was really on the ordinance, I would have had the picture ready for you of what's going on with your situation over to Johnson Park. I say you should have provided it, but yes, regards to over where are you talking about the bridge as soon as you come into Johnson Park? So the walkway with your stream there, where the flooding is?
Ron?
You're referring to the pedestrian bridge by East Jersey Old Town? Next is the multi-use path adjacent to Johnson Drive. Is that where your concern is?
Yes, and you can tell me what part of Johnson Park is that you're talking about?
That's in Johnson Park. We're going to be reconstructing that bridge.
So that as you're coming the beginning of Johnson Park, where the first lake is, the bridge that they're there for pedestrian?
There's a wooden bridge there that we intend to reconstruct.
Well, like I said, due to where, well, for you to put this up there, wow, like I said, even though I do have special vision, but for me to have show all the water recently over there, where I don't even think you're going to be able to open up that park, but even people have to walk in the roads over there. So like I said, I hope you do really put enough money into due to where you're gonna have to remove all these trees over there as well, due to where you have so many trees falling over. It's a hazard for the people, pedestrians, and the animals. And like I said, when time comes, I will come to prove, to show all the water every time. And I will say on Channel 2 News, a little while ago, about 30 minutes, where they just put out a warning telling you people to get prepared. And like I said, it's going to continue flooding at Johnson Park. That Robertson River is on a high rise again. What, you're supposed to get rain 3 days in a row again, the weekend. The ground is too saturated. The water is just going to keep sitting over there. And what? You're going to keep having the same situation. Like I said, sad to say, I don't want to say, but it's going to flood over there again, I guarantee you. Due to where, just like I put up the warning, August 31st, major flood before we even got Hurricane Ida. I put it up and warned Mayor Cahill and all. Which I have the evidence to prove that, but like I said, I hope some of you take the time to go over there and really, especially after the weekend that it rained, you will see. I don't even think you'll be able to do it anytime soon because, like I said, with the ground being so saturated, you have sinkholes, the trees are falling all over. Like I said, if I would know which one, I surely would have the pictures organized for you, but it's not safe for people or animals over there. You're really going to have to do a lot of work over there with all this water over there, and the big storms didn't even hit yet. But due to where your trees are leaning over, you have one that fell over due to where the ground is so soft. It's going to take a lot. I hope majority of the money does go to Johnson Park for that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else want to speak on the ordinance?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay. Is there a motion to adopt ordinance number 461 on final reading? Roll call.
County Commissioner Escobar Barber? Yes. County Commissioner Kenny? County Commissioner Coppell?
Yes.
County Commissioner McCollum?
Yes.
County Commissioner Nara?
Yes.
County Commissioner Tamara?
Yes.
County Commissioner Director Rio?
Yes. Mr. Kelso, any resolution to be added?
There are none.
Resolution to be amended?
There are none.
Resolution to be held?
There are none.
Any resolution to be voided?
There are none.
Oh. My apologies. Reports of commissions. Commissioner Barber.
Thank you, Director Rios. Before I read my report, I would like to thank the commissioners and the staff for all the prayers and support during the difficult time that my family and I been through due to the passing of my dad. And thank you so much. Tonight, the county commissioners proclaim March as Nutritional Month. Over the last 10 years, the Middlesex County Senior Meal Program has provided over 2.5 million meals to older adults in our community. We encourage our older adults to celebrate March as Nutrition Month by trying a nutrition challenge each day of the month. A calendar of nutritional tips and suggestions such as meatless Mondays, ditch the sugar, make a simple swap can be found in our county webpage. The Middlesex County Fiscal Year 2023 Municipal Alliance Strategic Plan was submitted to the Governor's Council on Alcoholism and Drug Abuse in February. The plan highlights the local partners who are proposing to implement approximately 200 programs that will bring substance abuse prevention, mental health, and alternative programs to communities countywide. The program will begin in July 2022. And that concludes my report, Director Rio.
Thank you. Commissioner Kenny?
Thank you, Director. The only thing I have tonight is just as you said earlier, let's hope and pray that peace comes quickly to Ukraine. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Coppell?
Thank you, Director. Tonight we adopted a capital improvement bond ordinance that will continue to enhance our existing infrastructure. Ordinance 461 focuses on the county's infrastructure for the 2022 fiscal year and for future years' needs. Continued funding for our bridges and culverts, general road projects, intersections and signals, our park system, building improvements to adult correction facility, fire academy, police training center, as well as many other county projects. We continue to issue these bonds under our AAA rating umbrella, which results in direct savings for the county's taxpayers by lower interest rates. These savings allow the county to undertake and fund additional capital improvements not otherwise possible. It is estimated that in the last 17 years, the county saved over $40 million by having the highest rated municipal. Director, that concludes my report.
Thank you. Commissioner Scott McCollum.
Thank you, Director. The Arts Institute will be celebrating Women's History Month in partnership with the Civic League of Greater New Brunswick for an art and storytelling series every Wednesday at 4:30 p.m. with a new reading and arts and craft activity hosted virtually via Zoom. All ages are welcome. Throughout the month of March, the Arts Institute will be collaborating with partner organizations to commemorate the extraordinary women in our communities and their leadership, artistic and cultural contributions, and scientific achievements, paying homage to their courage, strength, and resilience. From the Office of Career Opportunity. The Office of Career Opportunity is pleased to announce the launch of Skill Up Business Edition. The Skill Up online training platform is now available for entrepreneurs and business owners that can benefit from free business etiquette-related courses. You can access these resources through the county website. From the Office of Cooperative Extension Services. The Office of Cooperative Extension Services has accepted 12 participants in the first annual Are You Ready to Farm training program. Participants will work with the staff in the field to gain hands-on farm experience and planning skills. The Office of Cooperative Extension Services is also collaborating with the Office of Communications to create and publish videos introducing the public to our local farming community. The videos will be made available to the public via the county website. Director, this concludes my report.
Thank you. Deputy Director Nara.
Thank you, Director. From our divisions of solid waste, environmental, and recycling, the Middlesex County Air Pollution Program is responsible for conducting inspections on fuel-burning equipment in locations such as auto body shops and dry cleaners. The fuel-burning equipment inspected consists of boilers, heaters, coolers, and emergency generators. Standards are established by the New Jersey Department of Environmental Protection and enforced by our divisions. To date, the division has completed 59% of its targeted goal. The program also involves odor and particulate investigations and the idling of vehicles, again following standards set forth by the NJDEP. All inspections will be completed within the next few months. Our divisions have also been busy in educating businesses and the public on the upcoming law that bans the use of plastic shopping bags, which will take effect this May. The divisions will continue this effort throughout the year. The 2020 Recycling and Solid Waste Guide is now available. This guide contains helpful information for residents, businesses, and schools on how to manage your solid waste and recyclables. It also has a list of residential drop-off programs for 2022, including the household hazardous waste events, paper shred events, and the paint, tire, and cooking oil drop-off programs. Please look for the schedule in your local newspaper the week of March 13th. And you can always find it online at www.middlesexcountynj.gov/recycle. Or you may call the Solid Waste Management Office at 732-745-4170 for a copy. From the Office of the Medical Examiner, the office covers 3 counties under a shared service agreement, Middlesex, Monmouth, and Mercer. 2 years ago, the office achieved national accreditation, which is no simple task. Based on the continued excellence of the staff's work, we are once again approved for another year of national accreditation. The reviewer specifically noted that we are doing much better than many offices in keeping things running smoothly during the pandemic. I'd like to credit the hard work of all our staff, the investigators, the MEs, the techs, and support staff, without whom it wouldn't be possible. So kudos to the entire team.
I'd also like to just mention that on February 23rd, the director and Commissioner Scott McCullum and I were honored to be able to participate in a summit with the Middlesex County educators, and it was regarding partnerships in school safety. And it was a wonderful program. It was attended by, I think, at least 17 of our municipal communities, educators, members of law enforcement, really working to partner and figure out what are the best means to keep our children, staff, educators safe as our children are taught. And I really want to give kudos to Mark Finkelstein, who's the superintendent of schools for the Education Commission in New Jersey, as well as our own prosecutor, Yolanda Ciccone, who moderated the session. It was an incredible display of cooperation and dedication. And other than that, that's my report for today. Thank you, Director.
Thank you. Commissioner Tamara?
Thank you, Director. The weather is starting to warm up, so let's take advantage of it and get out into our Middlesex County parks, whether you walk, bike, or stroll. Middlesex County Greenway is a safe place to stretch your muscles, move your body, and elevate your heart rate, which is located in Edison, McCutcheon, and Woodbridge. If you prefer a hike, the John A. Phillips Preserve offers a self-guided nature tour and a view of the pine-bearing plants and animals, which is located in Oak Ridge. And if sports are more your thing, check out our disc golf course in Thompson Park, which is in Monroe and Jamesburg, which is also constructed by Boy Scout for his Eagle Project. But don't wait till spring to get it actually begins to start today. Roosevelt Park Family Ice Skating Rink. The Roosevelt Park Family Ice Skating Rink will hold its annual skating exposition show Sunday, March 13th, which was scheduled for this Sunday but canceled because of the weather at 12:30. Bring the whole family to enjoy the free event and check out a mix of competitive and recreational skaters of all ages show off their skating talents. The ring is also open for skating sessions through March 27th, weather permitting. Bring your own skates to rent or rent a pair, practice on your own skating skills. More detailed information on the ring can be found on our website. Our Youth Conservation Spring Corps, don't forget to sign up. It is now accepting applications for the spring work group. The deadline is tomorrow, March 4th, so get out the applications now. Work will take place on Saturday, starting April 23rd, at several Middlesex County open space properties. The application and more information on Conservation Corps can be found on our website. Plays in the Park is gearing up for a busy summer, and we're back. Holding auditions for the summer sessions on April 1st through 3rd. The 3 plays include Something Rocket, June 22nd to July 2nd, SpongeBob Musical, July 13th to 23rd, and Chorus Line, August 3rd to August 13th. For more information about our summer sessions and auditions, please visit our website at playsinthepark.com. And that concludes my report this evening.
Thank you. I would also like to echo my colleagues' remarks in reference to the seminar between the schools and the county prosecutor. It was a tremendous effort by them and taking a proactive role in making sure that our educators and our children are safe. And I say thank you to all of them for such a well-organized and educational forum. Okay, now Mr. Kelso. Any resolutions to be added? None? Okay. At this time, I open up the meeting to the public on any resolutions listed. Please state your name and address, and you have 5 minutes.
Good evening, Charlie Cradaville, New Brunswick today. Just wanted to take a moment to extend my sincere condolences.
Please, can you speak a little louder, Charlie, or closer to the microphone?
Just wanted to extend my sincere condolences to Commissioner Escobar on your loss.
Thank you.
299, resolution to buy more voting machines from ES&S. I'd like to ask for your take on ES&S's performance in the most recent election.
Machines performed as expected.
Did the poll books perform as expected?
All books performed as expected, yes.
Okay, well, I just was at the Board of Elections today, and I heard folks saying that they had to wait 45 minutes or an hour to vote, and that in some cases, people were not able to, exercise their franchise because of technology failures. I think that's well established that they were widespread in the county.
Which is
So-
different. Again, the poll books work as expected. Technology, the communication is what broke down. But the poll books work with the responsibility of ES&S.
Right, and I understand ES&S is going to send more people to work on future elections. Are taxpayers going to have to pay for that? Additional?
We're talking about the resolutions, Charlie.
Okay, well, I mean, you buy the voting machines,
We're buying more voting
you need
machines.
support.
We're buying our voting machines.
Okay, do the machines work with no ES&S employees, or do you have to have ES&S employees to show up?
That is part of the contract.
Okay, how many hours or how many employees?
Again, it's whatever's required for the election process, Board of Elections and the county clerk's office, they'll provide that service. We are working on that plan directly with our technology department office, along with the office of the county clerk, elections, and administration. So it is a collaborative effort to ensure that on election day, that all of the, both from an operational standpoint, from a technology standpoint, from a process standpoint, that the support is there from the staff.
So it's built into this price?
This is a price for new equipment.
Right, so it's an additional cost to have the employees.
Price that was built into the original cost of the purchase of the original equipment.
I'm just a little confused, because I heard today that now they're going to have 25 people coming, one for every clerk's office. And, I guess if that's necessary, okay, but I don't like the idea of having voting machine systems where you have to continually hire the company and keep having them provide manpower. These are the same folks who forgot to count an entire machine full of votes in the New Brunswick election last year, and apparently that wasn't the first time that a whole stick of votes didn't get counted in a timely fashion. So I'm just, concerned if we're going deeper down this road. I don't know, did any of the commissioners share my concern about the performance of the election equipment? Did any of the commissioners experience delays or problems in voting?
We're talking about the machines that we're buying.
Right, which are the same ones that got us the
We're getting
result.
prepared for the next election.
Okay, how many additional voting machines are being purchased?
184.
184 for a cool $1.64 million. I don't know, I think ES&S should have sent a representative to the Board of Elections today, and it's a shame that they have not been responsive to questions from New Brunswick today about their equipment. We're paying them, the taxpayers are, and it's a shame it's not happening. Can I get some information on 324? The bus shelters where on Livingston Avenue will those be?
What is it, 324?
324, yes.
I can answer it. Part of the overall improvements on Livingston Avenue, the bus shelters require the county to sponsor because it's on a county right away.
Sure. And the locations?
I don't know if the locations are on there either.
I have a map that shows cutouts, Charlie, on Livingston Avenue, where the buses are pulling out. That was included in the Livingston Avenue Complete Street project. So it's clearly marked where those shelters are.
You can provide me with the map.
I can certainly do that.
Time's up.
Thank you.
Thank you. Please state your name and address, and you have 5 minutes on resolutions listed.
Daniel Moore, Somerset Street.
Speak a little louder, please.
First, I would like to speak on, that's 321. I'm wondering if this connection, I know something to do with city council last night at a meeting. Is this regards to the water line
working closely with the city. They recently secured financing and they want to replace the water line within our project limits. We encourage that. We're milling and paving the road, and this is an opportunity for them to replace their water line. They had a water line on Livingston Avenue that broke.
Okay,
It's
I
120 years
understand.
old.
Okay, just this one, I don't mean to interrupt you, but I don't want you to kill my time before I go to that. Can you please tell me when the due date is, when you're gonna start this?
It's underway now. The project is.
Well, I know with the signal, due to where we talked already, due to where it's a situation for a pedestrian hazard, due to where you had all three corners, all four corners cut off where you had to have people walking the street, where I provided you with the pictures of that. I have to say thank you. You did go over there and talk to him, and you did even help the owner over there with where it was hurting his business, where he spoke to you. So I do thank you on that. But as far as due to where I just say, my mind is too much construction is going on over there at one time. I have to say, sad to say, it was a major fire over there on Somerset Street. Luckily, like I said, it was on Sunday due to where, wow, if this was on a weekday, these fire trucks wouldn't even been able to make it through Somerset Street to put this fire out. So like I said, you have way too much construction going on at one time, and it's going to interact with emergency vehicles. What? Prospect, Plum, all the way down to Eastern Avenue. All one-way streets are closed off. Where what? Even for emergency vehicle, what? Due to where I seen, wow, close call, you had to come up a one-way street in order to get to the fire. And like I said, come on, you just have too much construction going on at one time in the same area. But the Cancer Center, then the other Robert Wood Johnson building on Plum Street, then what, the project on Eastern and Somerset. Come on, I hope some of you take a ride over there on how many, projects you have going on, and it's in danger due to where what, even with someone getting to the hospital. If you get to do this, please tell me how many ways or in an ambulance going to really be able to get to Robert Wood Johnson. Please take the time to listen, and I hope you do test schedule due to where, like I said, after that house burned, at the big fire over there, 226 Somerset Street. Like I said, luckily, fire department was on the right side due to where they were able to get to that house. But like I said, with all the construction going on, please, I hope you really think about the safety of New Brunswick residents. Of, like I said, too much construction.
We always think of all the residents' safety, Danielle, and this is progress. This is work that's being done that we need to do.
I know what you need to do, but what I'm saying, to do it all at one time. Please, like I said, you take a ride there during the day. Like I said, and if any of you not from New Brunswick, please, I know, take a ride through there. How, like I said, what? You couldn't even ride down Somerset Street today. Like I said, avoiding. Well, do I have to provide pictures to you to provide that to really speak of what I'm trying to say? What, once you get to Somerset Street, Eastern Avenue, what, that goes to St. Peter's Hospital? Please, like I said, I hope you really look at what, you're going to really cost somebody their life due to where too much roads closed off. Take the time to really go see what I'm talking about. And then the last one that's far as with it was about wildlife. Did I use it? Other way around. If I have time. If I find it. If not, that's okay. It was regards to the wildlife, but like I said, okay, that's 303, 306.
Rick?
Nobody to say anything? You
Hold on
like
a second.
Oh,
Hold on
wow,
a second. I got Rick answering the question for you. Relax.
Director, this is a cooperative service agreement with USDA for wildlife control services on all the county properties. That would include all our public safety properties as well as all of our park properties.
Thank you.
Anyone else in the public that want to speak on any resolutions listed?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, Mr. Kelso,
I believe we had,
do we have any commissioners that have to vote separately?
Yes, I do, Director.
Which one?
I need to vote separately on resolution 22-323R and 22-324R due to a conflict with my role with New Jersey Transit.
Anyone else? Mr. Kelso?
yes, Director, a motion would then be in order to adopt the consent agenda consisting of resolution numbers 22-285 to resolution 22-348, excluding resolutions 22-323, 22-324, to be voted upon separately.
Is there a motion?
Motion.
Second.
Roll call?
County Commissioner Escobar Barber? Yes. County Commissioner Kenny? County Commissioner Capel? County Commissioner McCollum?
Yes.
County Commissioner Nara?
Yes.
County Commissioner Tamara?
Yes.
County Commissioner Director Rios?
Yes.
Now, Director, a motion would be appropriate to consider the resolutions excluded by Deputy Director Nara. Those are resolutions 22-323 and resolution 22-324.
Is there a motion?
Motion to adopt.
Second.
Roll call?
County Commissioner Escobar Barber? Yes. County Commissioner Kenny? County Commissioner Capel? County Commissioner McCollum?
Yes.
County Commissioner Nara?
Present but not voting?
County Commissioner Tamara?
Yes.
County Commissioner Director Rios?
Yes. This time I open up the meeting to the public. Wants to speak? Motion to close?
Second. Nope. Well,
No. Let's roll here, folks. Please state your name and address, and you have 5 minutes.
Peter Ortiz, Newark, New Jersey. I'm referencing Johnson Park. So I'm going to start by reading a report from the Middlesex County Livestock. It's the Middlesex County Livestock Investigation Report. This is as of January 28th. It notes that, quote, the zoo currently has an emergency plan in place. And since Hurricane Ida, they have made updates to their emergency management plan. The zoo has worked with the County Office of Emergency Management Group to brainstorm response scenarios and has previously used the cart vehicles for evacuation. Mr. Lear also stated that county workers at the zoo could access trailers at Rutgers if needed. So I just have a few questions pertaining to this. When the park is flooded, where are the Rutgers University trailers going to go? I don't know if anyone can answer that for me.
If we have to relocate animals, we will relocate them to the other parks. Am I correct there, Mr. Lear?
That is correct, Director. And Rutgers University also has their equine center over on Riders Lane, which offers the support and the care necessary as well.
Another question, how is Rutgers University going to give the county employees trailers when they are flooded out themselves?
Rick, can you answer that?
The support provided by Rutgers University happens in advance of any situation. So in October, when we ran the scenario through, the university came out with their trailer and their personnel, was able to load up the horses in advance and transport them over to the equine center on their property, hold them for the amount of time that was necessary for the risk to abate, and then they were able to return them to Johnson Park.
Follow-up question, how are you going to have access to the roads when half of River Road itself is blocked off with flooding?
We're trying to keep ahead of things when things happen. If we hear a forecast that we're going to have a storm, we're going to try every effort to make sure that we move animals if we feel that it's going to be a hazardous condition.
Okay. One more question. How are you going to get out animals such as deer and horses who are scared to death to get on a trailer, and when county workers aren't able to get these trailers through flooded areas themselves?
I think I answered your question already.
All right, on February 17th, Commissioner Rios, you said, quote, our emergency response plan allows us to expand our enclosure space to accommodate these animals on higher ground while flood waters recede. receive. But how is this possible when Johnson Park sits at the lowest elevation point? Water from the surrounding streets pooled into Johnson Park because every other neighboring street sits at a much higher elevation. What the report is not acknowledging is that this area cannot be fixed and can only get worse. Evacuating animals when it took employees 12 to 24 hours just to get on site in the first place is not feasible when it comes to the stress of the animals and the county employees' safety. You are risking human health in order to save animals that didn't need saving to begin with had you just done the right thing and evacuated everyone from Johnson Park premises. Why spend more money on a plan that is already destined to fail? Commissioner Rios, how much is this costing taxpayers for the engineering firms hired to assess 3 parks and for zoo advisors to do consulting for Johnson Park? How long are we supposed to wait on these brainstorm responses from Office of Emergency Management when animals' lives are at stake? It's nice to brainstorm, but the animals don't have the luxury of time. Here's a letter that we received from Thomas Slowinski from the New Jersey Department of Environmental Protection Division of Dam Safety and Flood Engineer. He writes, you might talk to Middlesex County and Piscataway Township about possibly mitigating the property to deter flooding, though that would be an expensive option. It is possible to build a ring wall or a low-profile levee around the facility, but this would require an engineer to study and model the Raritan River so that this would not cause induced flooding upstream or downstream on the Raritan River. You might also want to talk to Rutgers.
Thank you. Please state your name and address, and you have 5 minutes.
Danielle Moore, Somerset Street. First, I would like to say to you, President, I think that the last two meetings you've been getting a little angry, and I think you need to calm down on what some people are really saying. Because I know, like I said, you know what happened when you did that committee for you. You got a bite in your rear end, and you're not ready for another one. But you've been getting very nasty with a lot of people, and I think
I'm
you
not
need to calm
nasty.
down.
I'm respectful to everybody.
But one thing I will say, out of all of you that
You may not like the answers I give you.
please, you're not going to kill my time. You're not going to kill my time. Please. Out of the past 3 to 5 years, the ones that's been up there, you ought to be ashamed of yourself, not knowing what the system is here in New Brunswick and Piscataway. Just as well as you would have let 131 go for sale over there, and you know how it floods over there. Well, wow, if I didn't go to the state, provide the pictures to show the flooding, it would have been sold. And tell me how many times has 131 been underwater on Channel 7 News? 3 times. Now you know all of that mixes with sewage. That's Somerset Street, what? That's Joyce Comer Avenue, sewage, Jersey Avenue, what? All goes down to the Raritan River. You ought to be ashamed of yourself for not knowing what's going on, because I provided you, just like I provided anyone would like to see. My name is Danielle Moore on Facebook. August 31st, like I said, I do have special vision. I did put a warning.
You gotta go by the microphone and speak to
I
us.
did put a warning up that it was going to be a flood. And the same thing I'm telling you now, but due to where New Brunswick Mayor Cahill was too sorry to pay to keep his side of the property clean, all this garbage and sewage going into the Raritan River, and it's going over to Johnson Park. Please, you go down there and you see how bad it stinks down there. Please.
Get closer to the microphone so
Please,
the
I would
reporter
like
can
the
pick you
people. I
up.
would like the people to see. You can hear me. Believe me. And all the garbage.
Danielle, listen, I'm sorry.
And the
Danielle, I'm not trying to take your time, but when you step away from the mic, it does not get recorded.
Please, like I said, well, okay, well, I would like to show the people due to where I wasn't in on it, but after seeing all the water that's like I just showed you, that's sitting over there with the animals to provide you the evidence, yes, I'm going to show you due to where it's going to flood over there. And you ought to be ashamed of yourself where having people begging you, telling you, and have to be providing the evidence where you've been on board for so many years where you know about the flooding and the sewage where it mixes over there. Come on, until heat, 90 degrees weather, this is not going to dry up. There's your trees that's falling over, but blocking all the garbage in the river as well. Like I said, why do I even have to take the time to provide the evidence of all this water sitting over there? People have to run in the street. You can't even walk on the side of the walkways over there. Please. and this is by you, you're saying with the bridge, all this water that's sitting over there and your locking, you ought to be ashamed of yourself for not even moving these animals much quicker than you would do to where what? If you ride over there today, that river is on a high rise again. And what? No rain, what? Sunday, Monday, Tuesday again? And I told you Channel 2 just put an alert out saying that, wow, with the climate change, we're really going to get it. And I'm telling you, it's going to flood just like what? Mayor Cahill can't say I provided the evidence. Anybody would like to see August 31st? I said major warning for flood warning. And you knew that I've been studying that river because I said, oh, whose responsibility is it with cleaning down there? Is it the county or the city? But that water is so dirty. It stinks due to where anyone to see the video. What I speak, I'm a person to prove upon what I'm speaking with sewage, everything. And that goes into Dr. Park. When both your lakes are contaminated, it stinks. And it's going over to the animals as well. And like I said, I did over 20 videos last week, even though, like I said, I just had my nerves burned. But like I said, wow. For the safety of those animals, you need to get them out of there immediately. That is contamination. It's not like you didn't know what goes on in New Brunswick. And like I said, you ought to be ashamed of yourself, all of you, that's been on this board for the past 5 years, where you don't speak upon what you see already. And like I said, why do I even have to come down here to provide the evidence where the people have been telling you what's been going on? It should have been done already. And like I said, sad to say, same thing you would have did for 131 Jersey Avenue. You can have the evidence.
You can leave it with the clerk. Please state your name and address. Somebody put the microphone down for this young man. There you go. Just get close to the mic and speak loud, son.
Nirvan Agarwal, Edison.
Okay.
So my question is, why do we even have Johnson Park Zoo? They barely get any visitors, and the animals there are miserable. The raccoons are walking around, pacing around in their cages. They don't get any company at all. Now they put up a fence so you can't feed the animals. They're basically starving to death. Why do we still have the zoo?
I didn't hear what he said. Did you hear what he said?
He was saying, why do we still have the zoo?
Because we have people that email us and call us and still like the zoo. So that's why we're doing a study with professional people to make recommendations to us on maybe we could keep some of the animals there or not, or maybe move them somewhere else, or somehow maybe make the place a little different that the animals could stay there. So that's why we're waiting for that report and recommendation.
Yeah, but it's a flood-prone zone, and most of the animals have already died. Why do we have to keep them there for a longer time? They're just going to keep on dying. They're going to die from weather conditions, from health problems. Why are we still keeping them there? Even if the people want it, why can't we move them to, or just send them to a place that's like nice, like a sanctuary for them?
So, Director.
Charlie.
Most of the animals, just to correct that statement, most of the animals have not died. And what we've done is we've taken some of the animals and moved them to other locations while the study is going on, so that there's less animals there. And then once it's done, we'll move forward from there to see what the recommendations are and what's the best course of action to take for not only the residents of the county, the animals, and the employers.
Yeah, but the animals are still miserable. Like if you were locked in a cage, you would still be miserable. Even if you had company and if people still wanted you in there, you'd still be miserable.
A lot of the animals that we get there are animals that are brought to us because they've been either injured or dumped. We have employees that tend to them, that take care of them. They're full-time employees that work to make sure that they're fed, so they don't starve, they are fed, and that their needs are taken care of. And I know
We've had vets check the animals. We've had different government agencies check the facility to make sure that we're in compliance or that we meet the standards. So we're just trying to wait for a recommendation on what's best for both. We have a lot of employees that take very good care. Those employees that work there, they take very good care of the animals.
Yeah, but I was there the other day and like with my two friends, all they had to do was take one good look at them, just to realize that they weren't happy there. They were like following us in hope that we would free them.
I know you brought up the raccoon before. The raccoon, as Mr. Lear has stated at a couple meetings, those animals were raised by a person who tried to have them as a domesticated pet. And they were found walking on leashes down, I believe on the boardwalk, Mr. Lear, am I correct? And so they probably do, and this is my uneducated opinion, I'm not a vet or a doctor, they probably do have some type of trauma that they've had earlier on in life. And so we have them and we try to make the best accommodations for them that we can provide. And I just want to say before we go any further, I thank you very much for coming here and speaking to us at the Capitol.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying, but their enclosures are also way too small. Like, I know that like the fox's like usual like habitat would be about 200 to 300 feet. Your cages are barely 20 to 30 feet up there.
Can I, or, I'm sorry. We just had, I believe Mr. Lear spoke about it at the last meeting. Was it the USDA was in and looked at the enclosure? And the enclosure, was adequate for the fox. There's more than one enclosure there, if I'm correct. They can go into different enclosures, Mr. Lear? Or am I mistaken on it? It's broken into sections?
And the enclosure has a vertical component as well.
Okay.
Yeah, but your time's up. Sorry.
Thank you.
Thank you again.
Please state your name and address, and you have 5 minutes.
Hi, can you hear me? It's Morty Schnorr from Edison. I'm here to support that the Johnson Park. It's not a zoo, it's a sanctuary, so I think some people call it a zoo and they don't understand it's a sanctuary, and some of the things that one of the commissioners was just speaking about reiterate that the sanctuary provides a place that animals could be given to rather than being basically tossed out or thrown into the forest that they would never survive, especially if they were domesticated already. And keeping in mind that it is a sanctuary, that's why it's important. I've taken my kids there over the years. It's nice to take the kids there. A lot of people are constantly there, older people, young people. The other thing is the concern about the flooding. No one's going to say that there's never going to be a flood like there was back in, I think it was September of last year, but literally that every expert said that that's basically a once in 50 or even 100-year type of flooding situation. You could always insure every little risk out there. You can insure, but no one's going to do that because it's not reasonable. So it is a balanced approach to have the zoo, have the sanctuary, have the a place for them to go to in case of once in a 50-year storm again. But if you look at the people that work there, I think they all care about the animals. The animals, I mean, whether they're happy or not, I think very few human beings can decipher that. But if the animal are older or domesticated and then left to go into the forest or thrown away or given to people who just can't take care of them, I mean, this is a better alternative, hands down. So I hope that the sanctuary stays open. I actually want it to be expanded. I think there's a lot of opportunity to expand the sanctuary, to also bring in private donors, companies to help upgrade facilities. Of course, doing anything to improve the facility and growing it would be terrific. There's not a lot of opportunity for kids to go outdoors and go to places that are basically free in New Jersey and enjoy the outdoor weather
And these animals are also mainly all farm animals, besides for the ones that could basically fly away. So I don't think any of the ducks or birds are at risk. The farm animals, if you go to any farm, farms have floods, and most of those animals, by nature, know how to deal with some type of flooding. They go on roofs, the pictures go on the internet, you can see them. And some of the pictures that were actually used in the last flood, I just want to say that they were clearly done in a way so it looks like that the animal could drown, but there was actually dry land right next to it, and the animal chose to go into the water just because it likes the water. And I'm pretty sure no human being here can decipher what the animal's decision was, why they wanted to sit in the water rather than on the dry land an inch away. So I support keeping the sanctuary open. I hope that there are upgrades. I hope that those that are concerned about the animals provide solutions to keep the sanctuary open and improve it. Thank you very much for my time.
Thank you. Next. Please state your name and address, and you have 5 minutes.
Okay, I'm going to take a lot less than 5 minutes. My name is Mary Goldberg, and I reside at Denison Street in Highland Park, New Jersey. I am here today kind of to reiterate what Mr. Schnarr just said. I'm here to speak on behalf of the children and families that benefit greatly from this small sanctuary at Johnson Park, and would like to continue to visit the zoo as a favorite attraction in our community. I and everyone here, I'm a tax-paying citizen, a mother of 5 children, and occupational therapist working in the state of New Jersey. And as such, I can personally attest to the helpful and nurturing effects this small sanctuary has on my children and the community. During this pandemic, we have noted an unhealthy decrease in outdoor activity for children and families. We also know that there is a lesser chance of the possibility to spread infection when engaged in outdoor recreation. Moreover, spending time outdoors is one of the healthiest activity choices for children as well as adults. As reported by many local families of diverse backgrounds and ethnicities, this zoo provides a significant and uniquely appealing outlet for children who are not easily motivated to spend time outdoors. My husband frequents the zoo with my children, who are often delighted to bring carrots and celery from our fridge to feed the animals. Spending time giving to animals and connecting with them is also something that helps to nurture and cultivate healthy, giving children who are later able to become strong and committed adults who are major contributors to society. I urge you to seriously consider, sorry, I'm very nervous public speaking.
It's okay.
Consider continuing to allow the zoo to function and be available. As a result, the presence of the zoo will further enable the constituents of this town and this state to thrive. Thank you.
Thank you. Please state your name and address, and you have 5 minutes.
Hi, my name is Robin Black. I live in Edison, New Jersey. I just wanted to thank the commission for doing all you've done.
Just speak louder and closer to the microphone, please.
Yes, sir. I wanted to thank you for everything you've done so far, including the studies that you're performing. I would appreciate if the animal sanctuary remained open. I'm a mother of 4 children, and I've taken all of them there, and I really like it. I hope it stays.
Thank you. Please state your name and address, and you have 5 minutes.
Hi, good evening, Director, Commissioners. First, I would just like to thank you for your work.
Please state your name and address.
I'm sorry. Yifa Schnorr, I live in Edison. I'm a Middlesex County resident. And I would like to thank the Commissioners and the Director for taking the time to evaluate the situation at the park. I think that you guys are doing a great job in doing a thorough analysis of the situation, not jumping to conclusions, not reacting to propaganda or people who are disinforming the public as to what the situation really is. And I think it's important also that you guys, I was not here, but what I heard and what I viewed in the video, where people who are supporting that the sanctuary is closed are harassing the employees there They are making defamatory statements about myself, which are not true. They're also making defamatory statements about the people who work there. That's not how civilized people behave. Everybody has a right to an opinion, and we also have a right to an opinion, and my opinion is that the sanctuary is an integral part of the community, and that there are many people who enjoy the park. The caretakers love the animals. They are fed. They're in shelters that are, as I believe Commissioner Kenny stated, approved by the USDA. And we very much appreciate that the commissioners are looking into what the best way is to deal with the sanctuary going forward, because there are opportunities here that can make the sanctuary better, like any place. But it's also important to keep in mind, this is not a for-profit zoo. We don't charge admission to go there. It's not the San Diego Zoo. People are going there for free, and they are enjoying it, and there is a cost to that. So you're not going to have the same type of facilities as you would if it's a for-profit entity, and it's not. And I think that people do not take that into consideration. And I think also that the statements regarding the conditions of the animal are very often based on false misinformation. I'm pretty sure that there are veterinarian reports. They go in, they check on the animals. All the animals are thriving. Most of the animals have exceeded their life expectancy. They're doing well. If an animal is old and exceeding its life expectancy, it's not going to be running around. It's going to be sitting, and anybody who's used to having animals would understand that. As animals age, their activity decreases. So again, I appreciate the commissioner's work. I hope you continue to make sound decisions and not be swayed by propaganda that is fueled by some sort of hatred that I don't understand. Everybody here has the right to an opinion, and my opinion is the sanctuary should stay. It's a benefit to our community and to my kids, who also, they're here and they prepared something to speak, but they're shy, so they're not going to say anything. But my children very much love the animal sanctuary, and we're very happy that it's a unique part of the community. There's not a lot of counties that have such an attraction, and it's definitely an asset to this community. Thank you.
Thank you. Please state your name and address, and you have 5 minutes.
My name is Yosef Golubchik. I'm a resident of Middlesex County. I live in Highland Park, New Jersey. I'm a father of 5 children, aged 1 through 14, between the ages of 1 and 14. And we've always really enjoyed the animal sanctuary in Johnson Park. My personal opinion as a taxpaying citizen in this county is that it should stay. I'm not obtuse enough or ignorant enough to deny the fact that there's 2 sides to everything, especially if it's become this heated issue. That means it's not so simple. I'm not a zoologist or anything like that, so I don't have a professional opinion, but all I'm here to say is when there's 2 sides to an issue, sometimes it could go either way. And I'm here to say that I represent a lot of people that really love this aspect to into our county. And sometimes when something's borderline and it's just easier to do one way, if no one really minds or cares, then maybe that's one of the factors. So I'm just here to say that there are plenty of people that do care and find this to be an important, positive thing in the community. Thinking back myself, just as a young kid growing up in Jersey City, some of my fondest memories are going with my grandmother to the boardwalk, seeing the crabs that the fishermen were catching, feeding pigeons with bread, and those are like pretty small, simple animals. All the more so here, where you have all these large, goats and horses and things like that. My kids have really enjoyed it. Like other people said, feeding them vegetables and different things like that. And look, if it was terrible for their welfare, I wouldn't say that, oh, just so that some dad can spend time with his kids and have fun there, it's worth it if animals are suffering. But again, in my personal opinion, like some people said before, I mean, goats, horses, like they've been outside before, they've gotten wet, they are equipped to deal with these things. And I just think it's a great thing for the community. The second point I wanted to say was that, I doubt any of you guys got here by spending your entire childhood on Sundays sitting in front of a tablet or a smartphone. But unfortunately, that's what a lot of kids are doing nowadays. So when you think of the ripple effects 2, 3, 4 generations down the line, where the problem only gets worse and kids are not spending time outdoors, kids are not interacting with animals and developing aspects of their personality, of compassion and warmth and all these things that could really be detrimental to society on a large scale. So I think it's very important to keep it around, and thank you so much for letting me speak and hearing me out. Thank you.
Thank you.
Please state your name and address, and you have 5 minutes.
Hi, good evening. Gabriel Howland, Edison, New Jersey, resident of Middlesex County. Just here today, I know that a lot of people have spoken on the benefits of keeping the animal sanctuary open. I think we all can say, without a doubt, that there has been a lot of disinformation about the care of the animals. Like you've mentioned before, the vets are there, we have people taking care of them, it's their job to take care of the animals. As a pediatric occupational therapist, I have worked in New Jersey Government Convention for 5 years now. I've taken, dozens of clients there, dozens of kids with their parents to explore the animals, explore the outside. I also work with a bunch of colleagues, and over the past maybe 5-6 years, I've taken, and spoken with maybe hundreds of families in town here, town New Brunswick and Edison and surrounding areas in Middlesex, and I've all spoken about how important this animal sanctuary is. Like other people have mentioned before, there are very few free activities to do in this community. There are lower income communities in Middlesex County, and there are very few opportunities for families to venture out and to have a good time with their family. Like others have said before as well, right, there are two sides to every story. Everything in this world can use improvement, so making sure that we, kind of take a look at where we can improve, better facilities, better access to things, I think would be really important as well. But for the most part, I think that this sanctuary has done exactly what it's supposed to do. It has been a sanctuary, and it has also been a great activity for families, a great activity for children. And just offhand, I know dozens of clinicians who have taken, children there with special needs to interact with the animals, and I think it's an integral part of this community. Thank you, everyone, for being here tonight, and I appreciate you taking the opportunity to listen to me. Thanks.
Thank you.
Please state your name and address, and you have 5 minutes.
If you could just pull the mic down or take it off, that'd be fine. Yeah, so you don't drop them in.
My name is Tor, and I live in Cerebral, and I like the park, and I want it to be kept open. I like the animals, and I think you should keep the park open because it's real good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Sarah Etzold. I'm from Saraville. I just have something brief to say. I almost feel like it's pointless. I feel like I'm wasting your time. We're just kind of talking in circles regarding the park. I've worked at a large animal hospital for many years. I've worked in rescue. I've worked with wildlife rescue. I've worked in many different situations with many animals. I can't even name how many animals I have worked with, fostered, bottle fed. So, I've seen a lot in my time, and I can see that the animals at the park are in fine shape. And I know you know this, you've done your research, which I appreciate. And I have many friends also in the same field, vets, techs, people in rescue, and they would love to come and speak, but at the same time, with these jobs, they're often tied up with long hours or working multiple jobs, or with the rescue, it's tough to get away. I have a friend who goes overseas trying to set up humane societies. So there are people in this field who have a lot of knowledge about these animals and who really enjoy the park, who would love to see it stay open, but unfortunately, they can't make it to a lot of these meetings because they're so tied up, whether it's with their jobs or with their rescues or with just their children. I know it's hard for me to get here because of my kids and my pets and things. So there are a lot of people out there that you're just not seeing, unfortunately. And I almost feel like this is pointless in a way to keep wasting everyone's time. The world is on fire right now. New Jersey is overpopulated, it's overdeveloped, we're losing land. we're on the brink of World War III. It seems dumb and pointless to be standing here fighting to keep these animals in a place where they have a home and a shelter and workers who care for them, and they're fine, they're taken care of. I think a lot of people are also unaware of what's going on. I've been to the park on weekends, and on the weekends it's packed. It's packed with families, and I don't think many of those families know that the park is in danger of being closed down. And there's scout groups I know that go, there's groups of seniors that go and see the animals, and it'd be really unfortunate to lose the animals there because they are a big asset. They're a great tool for learning about animals. Even my own children like seeing them. And a concern is, I've listened to a lot of the meetings, I've read a lot of what's online and in the articles, in the news, and comments afterwards, and it's not just this park. They've already let it be known that they have their sites on Merrill Park and Thompson Park, and I got word that Homedale Park is also at risk of being closed down. They are giving them a hard time. And I just don't know where this is going to end. If we just keep shuffling these animals and closing these parks, at what point does this stop? A lot of sanctuaries, well, first of all, a lot of sanctuaries are in flood zones. I know a few personally that are prone to flash flooding. So to say we're moving them to avoid flooding, other places flood. We're a coastal state. We have the Delaware River on one side. We've got rivers all over. We flood. Just because they're being moved to a sanctuary doesn't mean they're not at risk for floods. The parks are all monitored, as you know, by all these agencies. Private sanctuaries, private rescues are not monitored, which is an issue we have in the rescue world. There are a lot of sham rescues and a lot of sham rescuers that we've dealt with, and really there's not much you can do because there's no regulations. So that's another concern. If they're at the park, they're being regulated. If they're being shipped off, we don't know. Time's up. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Please state your name and address, and you have 5 minutes. Please speak close to the mic and speak loud.
Okay, I'm going to give it a shot. My name is Dorothy Gerlach. I live in Monroe Township. I would like to thank the commissioners for listening to all the feedback brought up by concerned people and more for their diligence in contracting certified engineers to assess the flooding situation at Johnson Park and their concern for the safety of the animals. I walk regularly at the parks and enjoy seeing the animals. I also enjoy listening to how much fun the children of other visitors have with the animals. I walk most in the morning and I see the workers feeding the animals and caring for the enclosures. I see them raking the grounds and hosing off the cement pads, replacing food and water, and fresh straw being placed in shelters. Depending on the season, repairs are made and fresh paint applied to the enclosures and or shelters. Any debris dropped by the public is removed and the grounds kept clean. As a resident of Middlesex County and a daily park goer, I believe and I trust the commissioners will see the value the animals bring to the parks and community and keep the havens open for the county. Thank you.
Thank you. Please state your name and address, and you have 5 minutes.
My name is Ashley Hartwick of Highland Park. So we've been asked a few times, why do we keep harping on the questions of the past with the animals? Why do we keep asking, where is this animal, where is that animal? And this is why. Because if we don't get answers on what happened to these animals, we come up here and are accused of disinformation, which is something that I certainly have never done, and I don't think anyone else has done either. That's why it's important for us to keep asking these questions when we notice the animals missing of the past and the animals currently missing now. So that's the first thing. The second thing is, I can only speak for myself, I can't speak for anyone else. I certainly don't put any responsibility for any of this mess on any worker in the animal haven. We know who's responsible for this nightmare to the animals, and it's the officials in charge, it's not the workers. So that being said, one of the issues regarding the zoo that obviously keeps coming up and is a hot topic tonight is that there's disagreement as to whether the citizens in Middlesex County want to keep the zoo open or not. You've heard from us, you've heard from a number of other folks as well, but what we don't have is any sort of quantitative study on who actually does want to keep it open, and beyond that, how many people actually use the park. So if there's a view that the zoo is a service to the Middlesex County residents, so we have to keep animals there, we have to keep providing that service, then I'd like to ask that an objective study be done to measure how many people use the service. Obviously, I've grown up in Highland Park, so I'm one of the people who's in the park all the time, and I've been in the park all the time for my whole life. I'm a jogger. So you recognize the people you see all the time. And much of the time, when I go there, the only people I see there are the other people in this room. That's how we were able to identify each other after the flood when we went there and said, oh my gosh, what happened to these animals? And we started comparing our information. So when there's a view that there's an amount of residents who want to stay in the park, it shouldn't be based on my observation. It shouldn't be based on the observation of someone who says there are people in the park all the time. It should be based on objective data. And if we don't have objective benchmarks and measures, how can we say how many people are being served by having animals there? And how can we say the money being poured into this park is providing a service to county residents if we don't know how many are using it? And there's actually quite a bit of literature on how you can discover how many people are using a particular amenity in a county park. So the gold standard is for a researcher to come in and count individual use at specific points in time. So the gold standard is to count park users 3 or 4 times a day at 3-hour intervals for a minimum of 4 days. So I suggest rather than a back and forth on who uses the park, that we do something objective. There are other ways of measuring who uses park amenities, especially of the zoo. It could be as simple and relatively cheap as setting up an electronic traffic counter device and measuring how many people park in the zoo parking lot compared to, for example, the tennis court. Pick a day where none of us know what's going to happen and go there and count how many people are there. So I think that would be a good idea rather than having all this disagreement. There's also a suggestion to conduct outreach to the Middlesex County residents and see whether they want animals there or don't want animals there, which I thought was excellent. I was super, super happy to hear that. But there also, on top of that, needs to be a study of how many people actually attend the zoo, because there are many people who have childhood memories and different reasons for wanting the zoo there, but what percentage of people are actually going to the animal haven? And obviously, we have concerns about how the issue would be presented in a discussion with Middlesex County residents. Obviously, it's very different to ask people, would you like the animals to remain in the park where they're totally safe, it floods once in every 50 or 100 years, and no animals at all die there? Or to ask people, would you like them to remain in the park where it's been now acknowledged at least 10 died in August, where 3 of them needed emergency vet care, the 3 goats, and never got it, where 1 pig drowned in Hurricane Ida in Merrill Park, and that was acknowledged, where it's been stated that we don't know how some of the other 10 animals in August died. So whether the discussion is presented factually like that, or whether it's presented by saying, oh no, just disinformation, don't say the facts, nothing happened, nothing to see here, it would make for a completely different discussion. So that's the main concern there. Also that besides the acknowledged 10 deaths in August, there's another one we just learned about, a pig died in January as well. And there's a number of missing animals that we've brought up many times, still haven't been explained. The missing rabbits, 19 are still unexplained. There was a comment that, what's the big deal if there are, sorry, I'm paraphrasing, but, if there are birds and ducks in the park, they're not going to drown. They can fly like they're in cages.
Thank you. Anyone else in the public? Please state your name and address, and you have 5 minutes.
Good evening, members of the Commission. Charles Cradaville, New Brunswick Today. I want to continue to speak about the problems with our election system, and specifically one individual in that system, Mr. Dan Frankel, illegally prevented the public from recording Board of Elections hearings for years until I got the AG's office involved. He rushed to certify the results of the 2020 election and signed the paperwork in the hallway because he didn't want to do so on camera because it would have shown that he was doing it before the counting was complete. And indeed, they did forget to count 11 ballots in that election. Last year, he voted to cut almost half the polling locations in New Brunswick. We had to work with social justice groups and state organizations to fight to get some of those polling locations back. And now this year, he's actually doing gerrymandering. I have a clip I'd like to play from the Piscataway rewarding mission if the IT folks are able to do that. I cannot hear it.
We have no volume there, so, you know.
I could try to reenact it, but
No volume.
Sorry, guys.
The map apparently had a source of recommendation or someone that, the map apparently had a source of recommendation or someone that submitted the maps to the commissioners. So I would like to know who that person was, person or organization was that submitted the maps that the Remington Burnick engineer said was a good suggestion on the record, or a good recommendation. So who submitted that map or that suggestion?
The map was submitted to Mr. Lynn
By whom?
by obviously one of the commissioners.
Well, it's not obvious.
Okay.
Well, why is that obvious?
The map was submitted to Mr. Lynn
By whom?
by one of the commissioners.
That's not transparency. That is opaqueness.
That's in your opinion.
okay, so I want to tell people what you just saw. That was regarding the discussions on the choice to adopt new district boundaries, boundaries between the wards in the township of Piscataway. And what was done was maximum disruption. Thousands, perhaps tens of thousands of people changed from one ward to another when the other alternatives, the ones that the engineer had proposed, did minimal disruption. Well, God bless Herb Carvis, we're good to have him here in Middlesex County. Not only was he asking Mr. Frankel the tough questions, he obtained emails that show it was Frankel who proposed the map. I'd like to share with you. Take one, pass it to the commissioners, please. You can keep one for yourself and for the record. On Tuesday, January 11th at 8:55 a.m., Dan Frankel emailed Thomas Lynch, the elections administrator, with, quote, desired maps laying out exactly where he wanted the ward lines to be drawn. This was obviously done with sophisticated mapping software, and it includes percentages of different racial groups and performance for the Democratic Party candidates. It also has addresses that are listed on here, and I'd like, Mr. Chair, through you, we could ask the commissioner from Piscataway if she recognizes any of the addresses here on District 2.
Charlie, this is a Board of Elections issue. This doesn't come within the realm of our responsibility as county commissioners to get involved with ward districting or rewarding a district. I think you're well aware of that.
Well, I see one of the commissioner's addresses here. So the commissioner's address was taken into account by whoever cooked up these maps for Mr. Frankel. I also see political opponents of the establishment listed here with the pinpoints, including some of the people who accused them of gerrymandering. I'll point out on District 1, there's an address there for someone who's never even run for office. All he did to get on the map was he sued the township. So why are the addresses of specific families, specific political players, and their enemies being specifically considered in the rewarding process. Does that seem right to you? And that's not even gerrymandering's to benefit a political party. This is a small fraction of a small faction of the party. Do you support this? Is this okay with you?
Thank you, Charlie, for your comments. Anyone else from the public? Please state your name and address, and you have 5 minutes. Please speak close to the mic and loud so we can hear you, please.
My name is Maria Tim, and for anybody who whines about full disclosure, yes, I am Christopher Tim's mother, and I live in Portsmouth, New Jersey. We haven't been coming to the meetings because you have numerous state, federal, local agencies checking on these animals and their vet, plus their farrier. We have facts. We don't need to come here and whine every other week about what we want. It's what's best for the animals. Leave it to the experts, not the wannabe experts, to the actual experts. These people that come up here with pictures, the other day you could have taken a picture of my poor pathetic dog, soaking wet, shaking, whining against the back door, wanting to come in. I was out there for 15 minutes trying to get him to come in, but he was digging in the mud. Then as soon as I shut the door, he's whining. You could take that picture and say, look at this poor abused animal. Anybody can take a picture at a certain time in a certain place and make it look bad. My thing is, the reason that I got up was because I got a little bit riled about these poor animals starving, and last meeting it was they're being overfed and they're obese, which isn't. You've got people from this group saying they have to be there every day to feed the animals because nobody feeds them. And then they're complaining about people feeding the animals. Well, I have pictures of people from their group standing under those signs feeding the animals. I had a gentleman go up to the one woman and say, you shouldn't be giving that many apples to the goat because it can bloat and die. She said, shut up and do your research. I spoke to the gentleman later. He's got over 40 years experience with goats. He owns goats. Who's the expert? So anyhow, that's all I gotta say. The other thing was, and I can't remember, but I will not waste any more of your time. You shouldn't have to come here to meetings. You have your facts. You base the decision on facts. Oh, what I wanted to say too was, they said they want you to do a count of who comes to see the animal. I was speaking to a woman the other day who has gone to the park with her children a few times recently and has been accosted by people from this group, bugging her, telling her and her kids how abused and neglected these animals are, wanting her to sign their petition. So they're harassing people that are going to the park, so they're not going to want to go to the park. And Google Maps also now says that the park is closed, that the animal park is closed permanently. Who did that? That's all I got to say.
Thank you. Please state your name and address, and you have 5 minutes.
My name is Sareed Atkin, and my address is 117 North 8th.
Talk. Raise the mic up and speak closer to it, please.
I do not need 5 minutes. I just want to say that I've been living in Highland Park for 7 years, and I've always loved going to the farm with my 2 boys, and it is extremely difficult to motivate kids to go outside. Very difficult, as all the parents here can attest. And the park is just, the zoo and whatever you want to call it, the animals, you know, we're just people who love animals, and it brings out the best in children. And my son, who is a little bit of a bully sometimes, all of a sudden when he's near the animals, he's like a different person, so sweet and empathetic. And I also just want to point out that I know one of the people here who just spoke, and she is a pet owner. She has around 5 pets, and I'm also a pet owner. And it's not that we just see animals as a means to an end or a means to entertaining our family on a Sunday. I think the majority of us have pets and care a lot about animals, and we are concerned that they should be taken care of, and we think that they are taken care of. That's all I have to say.
Thank you. Please state your name and address, and you have 5 minutes.
My name is Annie Marcino. I'm from Woodbridge. There are a few people here that aren't comfortable with public speaking, so they're here and they show their support. They're in the back of the room, but they show their support as well. We want to mirror what others have said before me, that the sanctuary provides so much value to the community and park. So thank you for making it a priority and to conduct this study and for your time. I just heard that animals have died at Johnson Park and that questions being asked were not answered about the animals, but I have heard back the recordings and know that those questions were all answered during those meetings. I feel that these are not the facts, but kind of interpretations of it, perhaps. And continuously saying during these meetings, it confuses people as to what the truth really is when you have answered the questions about where animals are and what happened, etc. You have experts that come here, vets, all that good stuff, like you said, the USDA, Fish and Wildlife and all that, and they all make their reports and they all say that the animals have a clean bill of health, and that's what the expert reports say, and they never report back to the contrary. So again, I'm saying that out loud because people do get confused as to what those facts are. So many people visit the animals and love them. So many residents grew up with them. They bring their kids, their grandkids here. And I'm just hopeful that this study will return with recommendations for potential upgrades if possible, and that the county keeps the animals and keeps the sanctuary open for families to continue to enjoy. Thank you.
Thank you. Please state your name and address and speak close to the microphone and loud.
My name is Nisha Menon, and I live in Somerset, New Jersey.
And where?
Somerset. So I don't really have a speech prepared or anything. It's just been a rough week, but I just wanted to come up here to, just based on a couple of things that I was just hearing. I feel like a lot of people who want to keep this zoo open, or sanctuary open, I feel they're well-intentioned. So it sounds like everybody really loves the animals. They understand that children interacting with animals, there's compassion that can be built there. It's just good for humanity in general. But I think the problem here is that Johnson Park Animal Haven is being mistaken for a sanctuary. And I think it can be mistaken for a sanctuary if you don't know any better. If you haven't actually been to a sanctuary, there are ones in New Jersey that I would urge people to visit. If you went to Skylands Animal Sanctuary, if you went to Tamerlane, if you went to Uncle Neil's home, if you went to Freedom Farm, and compared what the animals are like there, and compared their lives to the animals that are at Johnson's Park, I think you would see the difference, at least the difference that I'm seeing, and it's palpable. There is a very clear disconnect when people are talking about the benefits of the park. I hear things like, it's free, my children like it, it gets my children out, I like to go for a walk and see the animals. It's all very centered around how it makes the human feel, and very little to do with what the animals are going through. There was even, I think, a comment that said, where somebody had mentioned, when I was growing up, I would go to, a beautiful memory of a fisherman catching crabs. And it's centered around how the animal made this person feel good. But it's surprising that here is somebody who is catching an animal with the intention to kill it, and that is considered a good association between human and animal. That's the kind of disconnect that we have been conditioned to think is okay. As long as it's beneficial to the human, it is a good interaction with an animal. So, and I'm not blaming anybody, I think this is just human conditioning, but this is an opportunity to snap out of it. We have to be able to raise our standards, and once you do, you'll recognize where most people here who are against this place being open are coming from. I also think that if we could improve the conditions of this place, to have it be a safe place for the animals where if it rained, they didn't drown. If there were animals that had arthritis, it wouldn't take 3 years for them to get better care. If there were animals that were missing, they would be accounted for. I think there are lots of ways that we could improve it, and that would be great. If all we're saying is that animals that need care, we're not going to run out of them. If these animals that are there today could be given to sanctuaries that are true sanctuaries with open arms, they're willing to take them right now, and you gave them these animals, and use that time. You know, take your time to make this a better, safer, more enriched environment for these animals. There, you will have no dearth of animals to save, as any sanctuary out there will tell you. There are lots of times when they have to say no because there are so many animals that they get. So why wouldn't we give these animals, and I'm not talking about the people here, I'm talking about the true victims, who the animals, where, you know, it's not like we're saying, oh, if a few animals died, you know, most of them are alive. That's not where I'm coming from. I'm giving each of these lives the importance that I would give each of your lives. So let's take the opportunity to give them to true sanctuaries today, improve the place, to have it be a no-flood zone, a true environment, and then get more animals.
Thank you. Please state your name and address, and you have 5 minutes. Please speak close to the microphone and loud, so we can hear you.
I'm Sonia Elefante. I'm from Highland Park, Middlesex County, New Jersey. Good evening. Welcome to all the new faces here. I apologize for being late. I was working at my job where I work with children who are residents of Middlesex County who have emotional, behavioral, psychological challenges, and very fulfilling work, but sure as hell could use more funding. So I'll just throw that out there. I know, you know, all the money, the $224,000 that we're putting toward French and Perillo's, well, that's the maximum allowed for French and Perillo's assessment. We could use some of that. So I'm up here for a couple of reasons. First, I wanted to kind of just bring something up about lies, you know. And what I'm gonna say is all based on records, communications we've received from the county attorney. So if I am lying, so is he. So on February 4th, we had reached out about some flooded enclosures. On February 5th, this text was sent from the Parks Director to the County Administrator. It said, don't know why my phone isn't picking up calls, but I talked to Rios and there was no flooding. It was a blatant lie. A blatant lie. So I actually did prepare a video of the flooding that happened that night. Unfortunately, didn't get it in time, so in the meantime, I know these are not the best quality photos, but if you look, you can see the reflection of the light on the water, and you can see all the fallow deer huddled into one dry corner of the enclosure. The rest is flooded. This is literally weather report. These are photos. This is not a wet dog outside. These are photos of flooded enclosures. So again, not much wiggle room to lie. And I also wanted to talk again about the, you know, the consultants that were hired, French and Perillo, and in turn zoo advisors. If I'm allowed to ask questions, I would like to ask if there's been any status reports submitted from them.
Can you repeat that?
Have there been any like status reports submitted from any of the consultants?
We're waiting for them to come with their report to us for a recommendation.
Okay. Their proposal did include 2 time periods, one being 45 days, the next being the next 45 days, spanning, you know, from January 1st to the end of March. So hopefully I would hope that they would submit a status update for that first time period that they diligently carved out. I also want to, you know, just speak again, right, to the truth, to lies. Animals have died. I mean, there's no way to lie about that. They were there, now they're not, and the official records say they died. I know we spoke earlier to 10 plus animals dying from about the first week in August until right after Ida. So again, am I claiming they all died in the flood? Nope. I'm saying 10 plus animals died within the 3-week period surrounding the flood. So either they died in the flood or they died from poor care, but they died. We also have evidence of mother goat giving birth, complicated pregnancy. She died, her baby died. These are just facts. We have the photos as well, but these are facts. And the last thing that I will say is, if, you know, there's these accusations of going up and assaulting employees, I can't speak for anyone else, I'm just myself, right? I've certainly not done that, and I don't think anyone likes accusations thrown at them that aren't true. So if anyone has any questions about that, I'll be here after the meeting. You can feel free to come ask me who I've assaulted at the zoo, because it's no one. And yeah, I see
There
that.
have been made comments here, okay, by people about our employees not treating the animals right. And I take exception to comments made against our employees that are not taking care of those animals.
I wouldn't say that's assault.
Our employees take very good care of the animals, and they don't want to see any animal hurt or mistreated. Just like all the commissioners up here don't want to see the animals hurt or mistreated. Please state your name and address, and you have 5 minutes.
My name is Janet Radlett from Somerset, New Jersey, born and raised in Piscataway, still have family living there. I'd like to talk to you about the pigs. According to your vet records on September 9th, 2021, there were 5 obese pigs at Johnson's Park. The vet records on October 8th stated you had 4 obese pigs. Your vet documented 4 overconditioned pigs that would benefit from weight loss. So somehow we lost a pig in that month. Prior to losing that pig, we had already lined up wonderful sanctuaries for them. In December, you agreed to release 2 of these pigs to Uncle Neil's home. You all have seen the pictures of the amazing transformations. They are no longer obese, unhealthy, blind, and they're thriving. It's an incredible transformation and truly heartwarming what a little TLC and proper care did for these 2 pigs now named Ernie and Samuel. Now here's where the story turns to heartbreak. Let's not forget about the first obese pig from September that mysteriously disappeared. After Ernie and Samuel's departure, Johnson's Park is now left with 2 obese pigs. According to the USDA's report recently, one of the 2 remaining obese pigs died on January 14th. He died of unknown causes. Nobody cared enough to find out what the cause was. Did he have a heart attack? Did he freeze to death? We couldn't find any vet records after your vet advised you of their health issues. No lab tests, no indication of monitoring, nothing. I guess nobody cared enough when he was alive, so why would anyone care when he was dead? Exactly 2 weeks ago, there was 1 very lonely obese pig left there. Even on a warm day, he wouldn't come out of his shelter. Now he is gone too. Another unknown cause of death? When Ryan was picking up Ernie and Samuel to bring them to their now fabulous life, one of the zookeepers commented, "The rest are staying," as if this was an awful thing being done. Thriving and happy versus awful death? I wonder how he feels about that statement now. Is that the thought that crossed his mind when he came to work and discovered the poor obese pig laying there dead? Was that the thought he had when the dead body was being removed from his enclosure? Week after week, we bring you stories of death at your park. At this point, it probably doesn't even faze you anymore. Just another animal death. But I ask you all to please, just for a moment, put yourself in the last hours and moments of these animals' lives. Whether it be drowning, a newborn goat starving, a mama dying in labor, Heart attack, unknown cause. Each of these animals' last moments here on earth all have two things in common. One, they were unimaginably painful. And two, they were all avoidable if they were just given proper care. They didn't have to die. And by the way, all these facts are documented, not hearsay. Rick lashed out in an aggressive email to Ryan about updating him on the pigs and ram, indicating he cares about them. Why can't the same sense of care be extended to the animals currently in your care? And why didn't you extend the same to the animals who have suffered and died under your care? At some point, you committed to taking in and caring for every one of these animals. I'm sure it all started out with good intentions, but too many have ended in tragedy with a lot of suffering in between. Please, I urge you, put a stop to the cruel living conditions and the horrendous, unimaginable, painful deaths. There are wonderful options for these animals where they could all be living and should be living like Ernie and Samuel. Thank you.
Anyone else? No? Please state your name and address, and you have 5 minutes.
Can you hear me if I speak like this close?
Real close, and yell.
Okay. My name is Brittany Vanderstein. I'm from Jackson, New Jersey. I just wanted to start out by making a few points. One, that animals are not attractions. Everyone should be caring more about the animals than the entertainment that they provide. From the previous speakers, it is evident that many people don't understand this. I understand that people love animals, but there is a right and a wrong way to do so. The wrong way is to worry about the public's entertainment or interaction, as opposed to the animals themselves. But anyway, I wanted to ask, with most of the animals at Johnson Park being moved to the other parks, what is the plan put in place for the fox and raccoons?
We don't know yet. We're waiting for a report. I've mentioned this many times over and over, that we're waiting for a report on recommendations, what to do with the animals, what to do with the haven, and that's what we're waiting for.
Yeah, but you guys...
There's people that want the park, and there's people that don't want the park. So we're trying to take an unbiased professional consultant's opinion, recommendation, on what's best for both.
Haven't you guys already started moving out animals to the other parks?
We have moved some of the animals already. That's an interim move though. That's not necessarily a permanent move. We may bring them back.
Okay, but for the interim, how come we moved some animals but not the others? What made us start with certain animals? Like, why do you pick one over the other?
We just think that if we move some of the animals and if we have bad weather, that we have to move a lot of animals because of a rainstorm, that we're that much ahead of the curve.
Okay.
Oh, everyone involved in this has good intentions. I can
Oh,
tell
well,
you
of
that.
course. I wouldn't think otherwise. But to wind down my time here, I did just want to make a statement. No more questions, just a statement. I wanted to tell you all that I don't find it fun to come here bi-weekly and give my speech on animal care and ask questions without answers most of the time. I would rather be at home, like everyone else here. But like all the other speakers, we know we have to speak up for what is right, just like how the commissioners are trying to work for what is also right. If advocating for these animals were not the right thing to do, then the Haven wouldn't have considered closing down most ready. We wouldn't have so many petitioners, we wouldn't have so many speakers from different areas. We just wouldn't be doing any of this. As much as we may be a real pain to all of you, which I very much understand, we do it because the circumstances need to be better, and I know that that's what we're trying to do with the advisors. Moving animals to the different parks for the time being is a step in a different direction, not exactly what we had planned, but I'm happy to know that we are taking some direction. However, regardless of where the animals are moved to within the county, whether they stay there or not, I must remind you all that even if the public finds enjoyment in visiting the animals, it should not be about the public. It should always be about the animals. Havens are not meant to be, havens are not meant to be entertainment. They're meant to be peace and rest and give the animals a life full of happiness. Being a public spectacle is not on that list of what a haven is all about, regardless of the location within the county. But I appreciate your movement so far, and I thank you for listening. That's all I have.
Thank you. Anyone else? Please state your name and address, and you have 5 minutes.
Nicholas Huss, Somerset, New Jersey. Commissioner Rios, you had said from our last meeting on February 17th that larger animals like the deer and the horses will remain at Johnson Park in the interterm. Can you give me some follow-up on the time frame you were referring to when you used the word interim?
You've asked these different questions and I've answered them. And all I'm going to say at this point is we're waiting for results, for recommendations from our professionals here.
So does that mean that
We have other people in this county, that want the park open, and of course we do have some that don't want it open. So we're trying to take a fair, unbiased opinion to see if we could try to accommodate both sides of the debate.
So does that mean that the larger animals will be moved tomorrow, next week, or next month? Interterm is defined as being provisional or temporary. So my question is, how temporary is temporary?
I don't know. I can't answer that question now.
So why do you keep stonewalling us? We have questions, right? You're the only one to have answers here because it's not talking to Rick. Because Rick's got nothing to do with anything at this point, according to you, Commissioner Rios. Who are we going to talk to then if you don't have the answers?
I think I've answered your question many times over, and I'll say it for the last time. We're waiting for results from our recommendation from our professionals. You may not like the answer, but that's the honest answer. Because every member on this board wants to do the right thing. Along with our employees that take care of those animals every single day. And they do it from their heart. Contrary to your belief or your comments.
According to you, as you mentioned on February 17th, staff and zoo advisors had made recommendations for vulnerable animals to be transferred to Thompson or Merrill Park. Being that chickens are low to the ground, which makes them an assigned risk for the next flood, not to mention chickens by default are considered prey animals, why are all the chickens still at Johnson Park?
I'm not answering your question.
Oh,
Do
this
you have
one.
any other comments to make?
Absolutely. So, I still got 5 minutes. Listen, on February 17th, Commissioner Rios, it was your intent to begin the relocation process the next week. Next week is defined as February 21st to February 25th, and that you would complete the move within 3 to 5 days. If we granted you 7 days on the move, that would mean completion should have ended by the 27th. Today is March 3rd. So my question to you is, why aren't the vulnerable animals moved?
We have moved some animals already.
But why aren't all the vulnerable animals moved? Chickens,
Because we're not moving them all
peacocks?
right now. We're not going to move them all right now.
So you broke your word then, because I'm just reciting and quoting your words
You're not
from
going to
February
cross-examine me
17th.
here, okay? Understand that. You're not going to cross-examine me here.
These are your words. Any one of us, these are your words. I'm quoting them verbatim. Any one of us can go back.
Last week, and that's what I said.
Yeah, I'm saying everything that you're saying
I
right
didn't
now.
say all of them.
You said
No, I did
vulnerable
not say
animals.
all the animals were going to be removed.
You said vulnerable animals. Vulnerable animals are defined as peacocks and chickens.
Director,
All right, let's go. On January 27th, the DOA conducted a humane investigation and found the guinea hen rock dove area to have 1 gallon of frozen drinking water present in the pen. You guys got cited for this, and since then you corrected the problem, according to the paperwork. But numerous people have stopped by in the middle of the night to find that even this water, despite having an element under it, it still freezes. I spoke 2 times ago making the recommendation for a bigger element to be put in place, so why is nothing getting done?
Well, do you want us to answer, or are you going to cut us off if we try? Just tell me.
Absolutely, answer. That's why I'm pausing.
We did look at the recommendation, because I think the young lady back there also made the recommendation. If I'm wrong, I apologize. We did look at the recommendation. Unfortunately, the outlet and the panel in that area is not big enough to service what we would need to put in there. So what we're doing is we're going with the operation that we have, waiting for the report, and then seeing what comes from there.
Gotcha. Thank you
Time's
so
up.
much.
Thank you.
Director?
Anyone else from the public? Motion to close?
There's somebody else.
Oh, let's go. State your name and address, and you have 5 minutes.
Brian Feldman, Bridgeton, New Jersey.
Bridgeton?
Yes, Bridgeton. Good evening, Commissioners. Tonight I'm here with an update on the ram who you released to my sanctuary, Uncle Neil's home. Please, everyone, listen closely so you can learn the definition of a sanctuary. The ram's name is Huxley. Last week, Huxley had x-rays to assess his leg injury that he was suffering from while he was at Johnson Park. Remember the video that we showed you of Huxley falling over on his face? That injury. X-rays showed that his arthritis is so advanced that our vet, an expert, estimates that it started 3 years ago. When you transferred his care to me, I wasn't given medical records, I wasn't given any information on injuries or medications, and I'm assuming that I would have been because this is just standard transfer of care. And there's also not a single piece of evidence about Huxley in the OPA request. So other than his psychological distress, a frequent topic of conversation was his limp. So if the public could see him struggling, one could assume that as empathetic caretakers, ones that work from the heart, that you claim to be, you would be treating him. What were you doing for Huxley's arthritis? I don't want to waste time. I didn't even have to ask. I know that not a single thing was done for him because he wouldn't be in the horrendous condition that he is in right now. On Monday, he has an appointment with a surgeon to see if he is eligible for further treatment that can help with his pain management, and I will be here in 2 weeks to give you an update. That is why these animals belong in a real sanctuary, not a zoo. And by the way, sanctuaries, if they are at risk of floods, we have a plan in place, unlike Johnson Park. We don't have animals drowning and disappearing and dying. We account for our residents, and this is what a sanctuary does. Johnson Park cannot be compared. Anyways, Huxley got castrated as well, something that should have been done years ago. You guys have a breeding problem. You claimed last week that you're trying to do everything to stop breeding, so that means that Huxley should have been castrated and he wasn't. Last meeting, someone read a quote by you, Commissioner Director Rios. You were asked if it was the right plan or the easier plan to close the zoo, and you said it was the right plan. When you were asked why your words weren't consistent with your actions, you said we had comments from people who were concerned about leaving the haven open. So if you take irrefutable photo and video evidence of negligence, death, and animal abuse at the zoo in combination with missing animals, how does that cruelty outweigh we had comments from people who were concerned? No comment? Every pro-zoo speech that I heard tonight were egocentric, solely about theirs and their kids' personal experiences at the zoo, their experiences walking through the zoo, and not about the animals, which is the reason that we're all here. Nothing was mentioned about how the animals are feeling being locked up in captivity. Commissioner Director, I want to address some points from your monologue from the end of the last meeting. When referring to the zookeepers, you stated, I'm proud of the work that they continue to do, and you said it tonight. You can't be proud of the negligence that resulted in countless animals dying in a flood. Can't be that you hired a vet who was indicted by the FBI on racehorse doping charges. Can't be that countless baby deer are missing and that you pretend to have no idea what happens, even though everyone in this room knows that they are all dead. It can't be that your zoo has a breeding problem and mothers are dying in childbirth. And it can't be that you let a pig get so obese that he went blind. By the way, he's no longer blind anymore because he's with me and he's lost at least 25 pounds. One might see how that is a confusing, hypocritical statement. So I would love to know what you are proud of. No comment. Switching topics, in your attempts to convince us all about what a great job you're doing, you all frequently defer to the fact that you've been assessed by the USDA, so let's discuss them. Here are a few headlines. 2021, a potential victory for billions of birds. Federal judge rules humane handling lawsuit against the USDA. 2017, USDA abruptly purges animal welfare info. 2017, USDA puts blinders on animal abuse. 2021, ASPCA sues the USDA for its non-enforcement policy on the Animal Welfare Act. 2021, USDA accused of ignoring animal welfare violations in favor of business interests in Monterey Zoo. Is this the agency that you're referring to that is supposed to convince all of us that you guys take great care of the animals? Because they need their own agency. And we have the USDA report, and it shows that there were frozen water bowls when they came to visit you, the goats were shivering, and Nippy's hooves were overgrown. So please, put the USDA plug to rest. It is not a brag. Just because something's legal doesn't make it moral. I can assure you that you are fooling no one, and that no monologue that you conveniently give after refusing to answer any of our questions negate the evidence that we have provided. This doesn't end until the zoo is closed and the animals released up to real sanctuaries as promised.
Please state your name and address, and you have 5 minutes.
Good evening. My name is Lisa Tarzia. I currently live in Somerset County. However, I was born and raised in Woodbridge and lived in Middlesex County for over 30 years. I'm an administrator for New Jersey Animal Save. Our organization handles and investigates and responds to residents' concerns and complaints with respect to alleged animal cruelty in all counties of New Jersey. As I've stated at previous meetings, NJSM, along with other animal advocacy organizations, received multiple complaints about Johnson Park Zoo during and after Hurricane Ida and the resulting flooding. People were concerned about the animals that Middlesex County abandoned to potentially drown in the rising floodwaters. Despite the park's history of multiple devastating floods and zoo animals drowning, Middlesex County did not at that time have an emergency evacuation plan in place to transport the animals out of the park prior to the storm, despite advanced warnings that significant flooding was expected. I understand now you're working on evacuation plans, and that's commendable. Middlesex County Commissioners and zoo officials have yet to respond to many questions posed by residents, taxpayers, animal advocates, and organizations as to the status of the 11 white-tailed deer and 1 pig that had been previously housed at the zoo but are still unaccounted for. After Hurricane Ida, we were told that all the inhabitants of the zoo were accounted for and receiving care. When it was apparent that 12 animals were missing from the zoo, at least 11, we have been denied answers as to why these mammals were unaccounted for or why their status is yet unknown. We were also told that records regarding the missing animals were lost. There had previously been 17 white-tailed deer at the zoo, and that number had decreased significantly after Hurricane Ida to a count of 6 white-tailed deer. Nearly 2/3 of the white-tailed deer under the supervision of zoo officials were missing from their enclosure. Even though records pertaining to these 11 white-tailed deer and 1 pig had been lost, surely the zoo officials must have some, recollection as to what happened to 12 large mammals that were under their care at this facility. If the zoo staff has no recollection of transferring these large mammals out of the park during or after the flood, or that a significant amount of these 11 or 12 animals under their care died, possibly due to illness or disease, either associated or not associated with the flood, this leads all to believe that the missing animals either drowned in the flood because there was no emergency evacuation plan, or that the animals escaped into the public domain during or after the flood. If zoo officials knew or suspected that there was a significant amount of these animals under their care at this facility were potential escapees that could have survived the flood waters, this information would have been crucial at the time it was known by zoo officials to tell the truth to the public. Concerned residents, advocates, and organizations could have immediately organized volunteer search and rescue teams. Search and rescue initiatives are common for animal welfare organizations. One surprised local resident found a deer from the zoo in her yard after the flood. That deer is not included in the current count of 11 missing deer. A prompt public notice would have alerted residents to keep an eye out for the 12 missing mammals and to direct them to call the animal control officers or humane law enforcement officers in their town. If the zoo officials first realized that these 12 large mammals were missing from the premises, were local animal control officers, humane law enforcement officers, or the Board of Health notified that 12 animals were missing and possibly roaming at large in the public domain? Were these agencies, especially the Board of Health, made aware of any possible illnesses, infections, or diseases that any of the 11 or 12 large mammals might have been treated for or exposed to before they became missing? The animals in this facility live in close quarters with other species. Zoonotic diseases are easily spread in these conditions, and there could be a public health threat in the surrounding areas near the zoo if these animals are wandering the public domain. There are numerous zoonotic diseases that are easily transmissible from animals to humans or their pets. Are the Middlesex County Commissioners concerned that 11 or 12 large missing mammals are potentially roaming in the public domain unaccounted for, and their health status with respect to illness, infection, or disease is allegedly still unknown? Are they concerned that despite the alleged loss of records, zoo officials have no recollection whatsoever as to what could have possibly happened to 11 or 12 large
Time's up.
mammals?
Thank you. Please state your name and address, and you have 5 minutes.
Good evening.
Speak loud and close to the microphone.
Good evening. My name is Edward Porto from Newark, New Jersey. I just wanted to talk briefly about Johnston Park Zoo. It's last time I was here with you guys, February. Things had seemed all right with the world up until as we progress till now. We are on the brink of World War III, hopefully not. We're facing a grave crisis. It's like we're ending one other world crisis, the coronavirus pandemic, and leading into this other atrocity, man's inhumanity to man. But luckily, world leaders gathered together. Majority of them did something. They held sanctions, and are now, we could see a possible resolution. Because when people see something wrong, they will act on it. They will do what is right. And hopefully with Johnston Park Zoo, you will all come to the agreement eventually that it is, it's not supposed to be open. And no, it is not a sanctuary. It's not a sanctuary. The amounting evidence that we have seen so far can show that it's just full of despair, and there's just lots of negligence that leads to harm and death for these animals. What I will say in closing is that how we treat animals will reflect even upon how we treat humans. So please, moving forward, keep that in mind and do what's right for the animals. Don't focus on the selfishness of what humans perceive for zoos. Just focus on what is in the best interest of these animals, and that they should be at a real sanctuary, not a zoo that has supporters that say, oh, it's a sanctuary, when in reality it's not. Thank you very much. Have a good night.
Thank you. Motion to close?
Motion to close the public portion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Motion to adjourn?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?